Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Game Development Log video diary, and this week I'm going to be adding particle effects. Before I get stuck into programming the particle system, there were just a couple of miscellaneous things that I had to do today. Firstly, if you look at the video of the water from last week, you can see that the edges of the water were very hard, and also there's this crazy wobbling glitch right down at the bottom of the screen there. But I have now fixed both of those bugs and the water now looks better than ever. And secondly, I added a couple of new sound effects to the game. One for opening and closing your inventory, another for when you equip items, and finally a nice money sound for when you buy or sell items at a shop. Tuesday, and today I started work on particles, and you can see my first attempt at a particle system here, where each particle is just a quad that's rotated to always face the camera. Each frame, a number of particles are created at the spawn point and given a speed, a life length and a random direction, and then each frame the positions of all the particles are updated, affected by gravity and then rendered onto the screen. I also have the ability to change the speed which the particles are emitted at and the amount that gravity affects them, allowing me to create a few different effects. Today I worked on texturing the particles and you can see the results here. I'm now also using something called additive blending, which is what makes the stars look glowy and translucent. However, if I don't use this additive blending, you can see that it all looks terrible, and this is because objects with transparency have to be rendered from back to front in order for the transparency to work properly. So tomorrow I'll have to go about finding a way to sort the particles from furthest to nearest every frame in order for it to not look awful. It is Thursday, and today, as you can see, I programmed a sorting algorithm to make sure that the particles are now rendered properly. But today I also worked on animating the particles, so if you try and look at a single particle, you'll see that it slowly changes colour and shape over the duration of its life. This works by using a texture atlas of different particle stages and then progressively fading the texture of each particle between stages depending on how long the particle has been alive for. This also works with the additive blending, which looks pretty good when you want particles to look like they're glowing, but for other effects such as smoke it looks much better just using the normal blending. So today I worked on making particle systems a bit more flexible, and I added a number of different options which will allow me to create an infinite number of cool effects. Firstly, I can now choose the direction that particles are emitted in instead of it just being random, and I can also set an error margin for this direction to give it more of a cone effect. I also added a number of different spawn shapes which define different areas in which particles can spawn. So here you can see particles spawning in a sphere, and here you can see them spawning in a circle, which can create some pretty nice effects when the particles are emitted in a certain direction. And finally, particles can also spawn along a line, which could be used to create a falling curtain of particles or maybe a cool laser beam effect. I also added the option to add a certain random factor to a lot of the settings, so I can now create some effects with particles of all shapes and sizes and velocities. It is Saturday, and today I improved the speed of the rendering process for the particles by using an instanced rendering method, which basically renders all the particles at once instead of rendering them individually, which makes it a lot faster. As well as that, I've just been playing around with the particles to see what different effects I could create, and you can see a few of them here. I'm not going to add too many particle effects into the world just yet, because in a week's time I'm going to be starting work on the world editor, and once it's made it will be much easier for me to create particle effects instead of having to hard code them in, which is what I'm having to do at the moment. So that is it for this week. Next week I'm going to be finishing off this graphical update by tidying up a few loose ends, and that video will be up next Friday. If you'd like to follow my progress during the week, you can check out my Twitter account where I upload development pictures pretty much every day, and a link to that's in the description below. Next tutorial will be out tomorrow evening, so look out for that. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time.